The British came to India in 1608 to trade. They came to the court of Mughal Emperor Jahangir and took trading rights from him and started trading in the western parts of India. Now, the basic thing is the colonizers, whosoever they may be, the British, the French, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Germans, wherever they traded and wherever they went to the world, their one of the mottos which they said they believed in and they tried to do it was to civilize the people of the native lands. They went to Latin America, they went to Africa, they came to India, they came to entire Asia, Southeast Asia. And they said that we are here to civilize the people. First of all, they started with trade, and rather later on, they became the masters of these countries. So, friends, my name is Amit Mahajan. Namaskar, Vanakkam, good morning to all of you. I welcome you, all of you, to my YouTube channel, Layman History on Geopolitics. So, a country which is 20% of the world's GDP, was it illiterate? India during Mughal period and the Vijayanagara Empire period accounted for something around 20% of the world's GDP, and Indians traded with entire world, be it Europe, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Africa, everywhere Indian trade was very prominent. The Europeans came to India in search of spices, in the search of pearls, and India was on basically on a very important trade route, and all the countries wanted to trade with India. So illiterate people, as we know, don't know mathematics, and if they don't know mathematics, they can't trade. So how did the Indians know about mathematics, and how they traded so well? That is the question. The answer to this question is that prior to coming of British to India, India did have an elaborate education system, and this elaborate system was in the basis on the basis of gurukuls, and madrasas. These gurukuls and madrasas were in entire India, and the language of communication, the medium of education in these madrasas, I would say, would be Persian or it would be Arabic. And as far as Gurukulams was concerned, the medium of education at that time would be the local languages, the local dialects. In South, in Tamil Nadu areas, it would be Tamil. In today's Karnataka, it would be Kannada. In Telugu lands, it would be Telugu. In Kerala, it would be Malayalam. In Bengal, it would be Bengali, Bangla. And in these parts, the northern parts, it would be local dialects which differ from place to place. As there at that time there was no heterogeneous, homogeneous language in these areas. It would depend on the area that which language is spoken, and on the basis of that very language, the medium of education was there. Basically, the primary education used to be there in Gurukuls. What we call today's primary education, medium level education, was imparted to children around there. They were made proficient in some sort of mathematics, the basic knowledge about the world. And when they started to go adolescent, when they started to get into teenage age, they very well knew what the world is all about. And they had a feel that we are educated and we can take on the things of the world. At that time, when the British did a survey something around in 1812, and during that period, they came to know that in Bengal presidency, there was something around 1 lakh Gurukulams. In South and Madras presidency, every village had a Gurukul. And in Bombay presidency, every village with a population of 100 people, there were Gurukuls. So the level of education, the penetration of education in Indians was very high, and the people learned in these schools the basic education they had. So what did the British do? As we very well know, British came to trade in India. In 1757, the Battle of Plassey was fought, in which the British defeated the Nawab of Bengal. And in 1764, the Battle of Buxar was fought, in which the British defeated the joint forces of Bengal of Nawab, the Nawab of Bengal and the Nawab of Oudh. After that, in 1799, they defeated Tipu Sultan, and in 1818, the third battle, Anglo Maratha battle, took place, in which the Maratha power was diminished, and the British virtually, literally, became the masters of entire Indian mainland. Their mainland stretched from something around Burma to the borders of Afghanistan, from Kashmir in the north to Kanyakumari in the south. It was such a huge mass, way times bigger than their home nation, that is Britain. And what they felt was that now we have such a huge land mass, we have land, so how we need to govern it? To need to govern, to manage the lands, they needed some people. And for these people, what the British did was they started in 1835. Lord Macaulay became the member of Governor General's Council. He stayed in India from 1835 to 1838. During this period, what he did was he realized that Indians have a basic education system which is in their local languages, and Indians are learning the skills. So he said that we are here to civilize the people. These people don't know anything. So we need to make a class of citizens who, while in their looks, would be Indian, but in their toes, taste, and in their thought process, they would be British or European. So what he did was, in order to destroy the Indian education system of Gurukuls and Madrasas, what the British did was, Lord Macaulay did was, that he banned these Gurukuls. He said that today on, from here on, the medium of education would be English. Those times in India, how many people would know English? How many people would understand English? And secondly, what he did was he decreed that now on the Pakka buildings, the brick and mortar buildings, the Pakka buildings would be there in which these schools would be run. Now, this was a death blow to the Gurukuls, as we know that the Gurukuls were run in the temples or in the open courtyards or in the open grounds. From where would they bring these Pakka buildings? So this was the thing that the British did to destroy the Indian education system. And what they did next was that, see, the where were how were these gurukuls run? These gurukuls were run by local villages. Prior to the advent of British, 40 to 45% villages in India were tax free. They did not pay taxes to government, and whatever income they had as a local base, community basis, they used to build rest houses, the sarais in old time. They used to feed the pilgrims on the path who traveled via their villages, and they used to provide education to their children in these gurukuls. What the British did was that they taxed all these entire villages, and secondly, what they did was that the rich people who used to donate to these gurukuls, the British gave them directions that now here on, you are not going to make any contributions to these gurukuls. Uh, it is a decree from us, an unspoken decree, and they made sure that the system of gurukuls die and the English education system takes its place. Now, what happens is in during this period, Lord Macaulay was in Ooty in his bungalow. An officer came to him, and there was a pain around him, there around there. What the officer did was he uh, went to the feet of the peon and touched his feet. Now, Lord Macaulay was surprised at how this person, he's on a higher post, he's a clerk, and this person is a peon and he's touching his feet. The person told him, Sir, it is our custom. He's a Brahmin. We are ought to touch his feet. That's our custom. That's our culture. He's from a high caste. Now, from here, what came to Lord Macaulay's mind was the downward filtration method. He realized that some castes in India are on the upper side. What we do is we educate these castes. So British singled out some castes, and started providing education to them. And the Brahmins were one of these castes, and Brahmins very happily took this English education. And Brahmins took up government jobs on a very high scale. And it is a known fact, I've spoken about this earlier before in my earlier videos, that in Madras presidency alone, the Brahmins accounted for something around 3% of the population, but they had 70% of the government jobs. Now, this was the period when the British provided education to these high caste, and it was also the period when the India was being exploited on a very high scale. Then economy was destroyed. British forced the farmers in Bengal province, mostly in the Bengal province, and in the Ganga Dwar. which were in the control of the British now after the Battle of Buxar, to plant indigo. And this indigo was sent to Britain for the clothes. Now, when the farmers were forced to plant indigo to do the farming of indigo, their lands went barren, and as a result, they became landless laborers. Uh, Laborers on their own lands, or otherwise they went to cities. There was widespread poverty, widespread hunger by now, and the local industries were totally destroyed because India was reduced to a supplier of raw materials and a market for British finished goods. A pottery person, potter, he used to make those uh, uh, earthen pots. Now he used to sell them in his local economy in his villages. What the British do is they bring the plastic goods from Britain. Now they are more durable, they are very beautiful, and most importantly, they are cheap. British flood the entire market with those plastic things, and the potter goes out of business. This was what was happening in entire India. People were becoming poorer, and they were migrating to. They were becoming laborers or they were migrating to cities. And British made a class of zamindars, the land owning class, and the land um, lenders also. The land owning class and the lenders started exploiting these people. They used to give them money on what they say is interest, and when these people could not pay those interests, they used to usurp their lands and make them bonded labor on their lands. As we see in the case of Pakistan, it still happens today. The Vaderas and Sindh, or the big landlords in Punjab, still follow this practice because Land Ceiling Act was has not been implemented there. Now, what the British did was they pushed India to extreme poverty. And on the other hand, they raised some classes, they raised their level. These classes came into jobs, they came into administrative positions. And what it led to was a division in the society. When a Brahmin used to go to people as a medium between a British Saab and an Indian peasant and used to demand the taxes. And if the peasant was not able to pay the taxes, he used to punish them. The Brahmin was labeled as the exploiter. So the Brahmin is rich, he's in a government job, he has plenty of salary, and there is a peasant who doesn't have anything. What will he feel that the Brahmin is coming? He is so cruel, he's asking taxes from me when I don't have anything to eat. So that was the very time when the divisions were made in Indian society and the Brahmins were made the villains of the society. In 1882, the British missionaries again sat and they realized that though these Brahmins are in government jobs, but they haven't converted. They have not civilized. Civilized in their language meant that the people convert to Christianity, but the Brahmins had not converted. So that was the very time when the British started. Now there in 1882, they started giving honors on the scheduled tribes and the scheduled castes and started painting the Brahmins as the villains who from the ancient times were continuing to exploit the masses of India. So this was the way that the British destroyed the Indian educational system, and the very way they destroyed our values, our cultural values, our ethos, and it led a huge setback to Indian society. We were not able to regain our ancient wisdom till we are not able to regain our ancient wisdom till now. Bakhtiyar Khilji, as we all know, had destroyed Nalanda University, and the fire of the books lit on something around 7 8 days. The British did worse than that. They destroyed Indian values, they destroyed Indian culture. English as a language is very good. As a means of communication, it is very good. And we respect this language. But it should never be on the basis of our culture. Our local languages, be it Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, Bangla, Odia, Gujarati, Marathi, they should hold sway over us. They should always come first, and then should come English. English should be used as a mode of communication. It should be used as a mode of going up when people do not understand your language, and it is a universal language, it should be accepted. But as if we look at the history, If the nations, the people who do not have proud on their history, who are cut from their educational and cultural roots, those nations cannot progress. That was all for me from me for today. Thank you, namaskar, welcome to all of you. I request all of you to kindly subscribe, like, and share my YouTube channel, Layman History and Geopolitics. Friends, that's a humble request. I'm trying my best to give you quality content. I'm researching a lot, but for that, I need some support from you. So kindly like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel, Layman History and Geopolitics. Thank you. Namaskaram. Varakka.